Hi there. My name is Suri Crowe, and you're watching the MeidasTouch Network. Doesn't every week since Donald Trump entered our political atmosphere feel like it's like a month long? I've been painting today, but I just had to jump on here to talk about the absolute chaos that's been flying around, not only in the last week, but just in the last several hours of what's been happening. You know, it was only a week ago, in fact, not even a week ago, that incredible debate took place in Philadelphia. You know, the one where Vice President Kamala Harris mopped the floor with the former president, I just want to remind everyone, the former. Really wish the mainstream media would stop calling him President Trump, because he's not. That would be President Joe Biden. And it was during that debate that Donald Trump unleashed, the horrible rumors about Haitian immigrants in Springfield, Ohio, that resulted in bomb threats, closed schools and closed hospitals and universities, and Proud Boys marching around out in the open. Just, you know, here we are, Proud Boys, standing back and standing by. For Donald Trump, that overall mayhem and fear is also known as stochastic terrorism. It's aimed against the targets of whoever is putting that out there, and that is exactly what the Trump team wants. They don't give a rat's ass about immigrants. They're going to pick on whoever they can to distract from what's really going on. And here's J.D. Vance in an interview with CNN earlier, admitting that these hateful, racist rumors were all basically just, made up.
You, again, started this in part by saying that, at which Donald Trump repeated on the debate stage, that, and he didn't say anything about the policies that you're talking about. He just said Haitians are eating dogs and cats. Can you affirmatively say now that that is a rumor that has no basis with evidence?
Dana, the evidence is the first-hand account of my constituents who are telling me that this happened. And by the way, I've been trying to talk about the problems in Springfield for months, and the American media ignored it. There was a congressional hearing just last week of angel moms who lost children because Kamala Harris let criminal migrants into this country who then murdered their children. The American media totally ignored this stuff until Donald Trump and I started talking about cat memes. If I have to create stories so that the American media actually pays attention to the suffering of the American people, then that's what I'm going to do.
Kamala Harris has been receiving rave reviews about her debate performance, as she should be, which drives a narcissist like Donald Trump crazy. He can't stand anyone not to have the attention other than himself. So when Taylor Swift came out and officially endorsed Vice President Harris, that further drove Mr. Unstable, the smallest man who ever lived, absolutely batty. Here's what Donald Trump had to say about Taylor's back. Just listen to this.
What do you think about Taylor Swift? One of the most famous people right now.
Yeah, I think she's beautiful, very beautiful. I find her very beautiful. I think she's liberal. She probably doesn't like Trump, but I hear she's very talented. But I think she's very beautiful, actually. Unusually beautiful.
So he could not stand it that it was Kamala Harris and not he who got Swift's attention. So he posted this batshit craziness today, all blocks, all caps, yelling to the world, "I hate Taylor Swift." Yep, just screaming to the world. And people were like, is this real? Well, of course it's real. How long have we known Donald Trump now? Look at what this man says every hour on the half hour. He is mentally unfit. He is filled with rage and hate. Of course he said this. Can we not be surprised? We should certainly not blow it off, because it's a horrible, awful thing to do. So, I mean, what kind of person does this? A sane person doesn't. Not a sane former U.S. president, certainly not somebody who is running to hold that office again, to deal with world leaders, to deal with all of the major issues that we in America and across the world face. But a psychopath does, a malignant narcissist does, and that is textbook Donald Trump. And when psychopaths suffer what is known as a narcissistic injury, as Donald Trump clearly did on that stage next to Kamala Harris last week, they go into what's called a narcissistic rage. They attack anything and everyone who is affiliated with that person whom they are now going to take out their revenge on. So in this case, it would be Taylor Swift. And it's now going to also be President Biden. Remember, he kept knocking and saying horrible things about President Biden, and anything or anyone who's backing up Kamala Harris. Donald Trump is now also going to be taking revenge out on that person. It's like a temper tantrum, except with a malignant narcissist and a psychopath. Psychopaths have no empathy. They're sadistic and cruel, which is what Donald Trump is. It's extremely dangerous, especially if it comes from somebody with as much power and influence as Donald Trump. Here's psychologist Dr. Harry Siegel from the Shrinking Trump podcast.
And even though John and I might have political views about what Trump and his party have to offer, as clinicians, we have been extremely frightened, I would say, scared to death, really, of someone with this pathology getting back into the White House and having such an impact on the country and the world.
So all of this noise, all of this poop flinging that Donald Trump and his acolytes are flinging into the world is meant to distract us. It is meant to distract the press from discussing what is really at stake here. What's at stake for millions of us, that the planet is literally on fire right now. The Amazon is burning by millions and millions of acres. The Amazon jungle is the actual lungs of the planet. It is what puts oxygen into the atmosphere that helps us breathe. It's not getting very much media attention at all. And remember that Donald Trump calls climate change a hoax. They don't want to talk about healthcare for millions of Americans because, as Trump admitted on that debate stage, he has no plan to replace it.
The plan.
I have concepts of a plan. I'm not president right now. But if...
Yeah, Donald, well, that's not going to help people like me who have pre-existing conditions like injuries or cancer, and the 50 million Americans who now rely on the Affordable Care Act, or Obamacare as it's known, to provide us with life-saving medical care. So why would the Trump administration, or the Trump team rather, admit that they are going to take it all away, as Kamala Harris points out?
When he was president, he tried 60 times to end the Affordable Care Act. And as he said in the debate just this week, he has no plan to replace it. Right. You said it. He said he has, quote, concepts of a plan. Concepts of a plan.
Here's what else the Trump campaign does not want the legacy media to be focusing on: the booming economy that President Biden rebuilt after Trump absolutely torched it. The Biden-Harris administration now has inflation under 3%. We're now energy independent for the first time in ever. Sorry, I have a lot of Taylor Swift lyrics going through my head. I apologize. Here's what President Biden put out about a week ago. It says, on my watch, we've gone from economic crisis to the strongest economy in the world. A record nearly 16 million new jobs, record small business growth, record high stock market, record high 401ks, wages up, and inflation is down and continuing to fall. I cross-checked all of that. It's all 100% true. And I just want to insert this here. If people like a lot of my MAGA friends, they're complaining about high prices, or even people who maybe aren't, that is not on the Biden-Harris administration. That is corporate greed, which Vice President Harris has talked about her plan for that. And that's something that the Biden administration has been working on, to get the corporations to pay their fair share in taxes and to stop ramping up the prices. It's price gouging. It is not because of high inflation or supply chain demand. That is all BS at this point. It's smoke and mirrors, because corporations are making more money than they ever have before. And they've just fooled us. And the mainstream media goes along with this. This is one of my personal pet peeves. The inflation is under 3%. Okay. So prices are high at the grocery store, which they are, because of other factors: corporate greedflation. I know I'm a nerd about this, but this is what matters to people. Here's what Jay Black put out on Twitter. He said the fact that Biden got inflation down without dropping us into a recession is an economic miracle. Any MAGA saying differently is either ignorant or willfully obtuse. And then he goes on to make sort of a silly reference there, but it's true. I deal with this with my MAGA friends all the time. They don't want to hear facts. No. Facts. here I am, I'm a very data-driven person. I know Ben is that way too. I'm like, here's the evidence. Nope. I don't want to read it. I don't want to see it. But we have to stick with the evidence and the data. And what we know right now is that our economy is doing very well. So anyway, just as we begin another week and what sometimes feels like Through the Looking Glass, which is one of my very favorite books as a child, and I would love to read it again. Let's all take a deep breath. Thank the Amazon jungle and do what we can to commit to saving her. And remember that propaganda works by throwing absolute chaos into the atmosphere to distract and cause fear and mayhem. So let's sit back and focus on what is going well, which is quite a bit. I'm seeing a lot of Harris Walls merch. I'm seeing signs everywhere, including at my house. And people are coming up to me. I thought I lived in a pretty much MAGA neighborhood. I mean, and people are coming up and they're like, hey, I really like your sign. Hey, I like your sign. Where'd you get it? And it's cracking me up because I'm like, I will be that person that's like, here are my pro-democracy signs. My sign is pro-democracy. And when I'm seeing these stories out on social media too, where people in deep red places are putting out their yard signs. And yes, the Trumpers are coming and stealing a lot of signs where I live. So far, they haven't on my yard. But, I'm seeing more and more just kind of like, what is it? Swag, your flair. Put it out there. Don't be afraid. We live here. We're rightful citizens. We have the right to vote and to stand up for our democracy. So I very, very proudly wear my pro-democracy buttons and put my signs out. And it's contagious. And we're seeing that scary MAGA parade, which we used to see all the time. Where I live is really hardcore military, and nothing against the military, but there is a large percentage of the military that is, I don't understand it, very pro-Trump. I don't get it because he can't stand them and he disparages them. But in any event, I'll see all the MAGA flags and the violent images that they put up. But I'm now seeing images like this. Joyful caravans of people celebrating, driving with their Harris Walls flags, and that is contagious. Taylor Swift's endorsement of the Harris Walls campaign launched 400,000 new voter registrations and counting. So you don't have to feel helpless wherever you are. I've heard from a few of you who are saying, I feel worried, I'm concerned, and I get it. Like, the stakes are so high for this election, but get involved. Democracy is a pro-team participation sport. I'm part of the Swifties for Kamala crew. Here's a photo of us phone banking. So you see if you can figure out where I am. And they're like, that was sort of last minute. I was like, oh, we're taking a picture. But we phone banked. We made calls to swing states. We're getting young voters registered, making sure that they're registered to vote where they're going to school, etc. A lot of these red Republican-run states, they've been purging voter rolls. So we're making sure that people in swing states in any state has checked that they are in fact registered to vote and that they have a voting plan. So whatever your niche is, if it's white dudes for Kamala, if it's Swifties for Kamala, if it's, I don't know, there's so many different niches, you can get involved. And find a way to link up with people who have similar interests as you and really help move our country forward right now. And that will make you feel better. You will feel empowered because you can't just leave it up to a few people to lead the way. Yes, it's amazing that Kamala Harris and Governor Walz are filling stadiums to the degree that Taylor Swift is, but that doesn't necessarily translate to people going to vote, making sure they're registered to vote. That is what is going to flip this election our way. And so whether it's knocking on doors or phone banking like I did this weekend and making new friends or texting, talk to your friends, get involved. You're going to feel so much more empowered, y'all. I promise. Like Michelle Obama says, do something. And you will feel better. And just lastly, as I wrap up here, I just want to remind everyone that unlike last time, 4 years ago, we have a fantastic, sane, wise, and stable president who's at the helm of our nation. We have President Joe Biden, and that makes me so happy at night. And I want to keep that peaceful feeling that I have had since he took office. I want to keep that. And that gives me a lot of faith in the transition process, but we've got to make sure that President Biden is able to continue building that bridge and hand that baton over to Vice President Kamala Harris. And that's only going to happen if we all get involved. And I believe that we can make it happen. And my best friend has to listen to me all the time. Have you signed up for a phone bank? I know you're an introvert, but are you going to phone bank or are you going to do text? But really, like, that's what it's going to take. Anyway, so yeah. And wherever Taylor Swift is right now, I imagine celebrating another Chiefs victory today with her boyfriend, Travis Kelce. She's probably cackling into her beverage of choice and thinking to herself on a day like today when Donald Trump comes for her that she has now motivated hundreds of thousands of Swifties to register to vote. And she's like, yeah, Donald Trump, we are never, ever, ever getting back together. And I want all of us to say that too, because I never, ever want to go back to that 4 years of hell and chaos. And if we can just keep marching forward, we can send all of this chaos and madness that's been going on just in the last few hours since I woke up today and started painting furniture. So let's do it. Midas Mighty. You know what the assignment is. I understand the assignment. It's pro-democracy. All right. My name is Suri Crowe for the MeidasTouch Network. Thank you so much for joining me. I hope you guys all have a wonderful, peaceful, blessed week. Get involved and go to vote.org if you're looking, excuse me, for more information on what your registration is and where you can go for more help in terms of finding out what your status is and make a plan to vote. Okay. All right. Thanks. Peace.
Love this video? Make sure you stay up to date on the latest breaking news and all things Meidas by signing up to the MeidasTouch newsletter at MeidasTouch.com/newsletter.